Welcome to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thanks for supporting these weekly conversations. Listen, we have a very important conversation for you this evening, and maybe, just maybe, it's your first time joining the conversation. If so, welcome to the family, and yes, we consider you family. My team and I are so excited that you found your way here tonight. To our regular and loyal viewers, thank you all for all of the words of encouragement that you send to my inbox. Please keep those coming. They mean a lot to me, to my team, and even the guests who join me week after week. We're also live on YouTube as we speak. Yes, you can find all of our past conversations on my YouTube channel. Just look up Conversations with Cubit, and once you get there, please subscribe and hit the like button. Please do that for me, please. Okay, we have had some great conversations posted there and with some amazing folks from around our state. Trust me, you will not be disappointed. But right now, I need you to do me a favor, and I want you to share tonight's conversation. That's right, hit the share button. We have a very important election coming up next week, and tonight, you get to meet just one of the candidates on the ballot. Please don't keep this conversation to yourself. Share it with your community. So hit that button right now. Do it. Have you heard of Green Pasture Studios? Of course you have, especially if you're a regular viewer of this show. Green Pasture Studios is in the movie making business, y'all. That's right. Full-fledged movie productions, commercials, and they even have a film training academy. They actually teach people of all ages how to work in the film and movie industry. All right here in Oklahoma City. The studio is located in Spencer, Oklahoma, and they give this home for these conversations every week out there. That's where we regularly broadcast from, and it's really cool stuff that's going on out there. So please look them up online. But tonight, we have taken the show on the road. Tonight, we are in Edmond, Oklahoma at Blender's Cafe. Blender's is located at 1200 West Colville Road. These folks have treated me and my team like royalty since the moment we walked in. In fact, everybody that walks in has been treated like royalty. Blender's offers great, healthy food that is made from all natural ingredients and the freshest products. The smoothies are made with no added sugar, so all you're getting is natural goodness. They also have a great selection of wraps, sandwiches, salads, and a full espresso bar. So let me encourage you to bring your friends and your family down to enjoy this great spot in Edmond, Oklahoma. Now, I need to share with you these very simple goals. 3 simple goals I have from having these weekly conversations. 1 is I just want to add value to people in my community. That's it. 2, I want to inspire you to believe in what people and communities can become when we're willing to work together. And 3, just love people, period. No strings attached. All this means is I want you to be inspired, and I want you to get useful information and resources, and I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation will be about information, inspiration, and hope. All right, joining me tonight is a friend who I will also call a consistent community partner who has supported much of my work over the years. He really does not need an introduction on this show, but there might be someone who has never had the opportunity to visit with him personally. So tonight's that chance. Joining me tonight is Mr. Derrick Scobey, Pastor Scobey, Trustee Scobey, etc., etc., etc. He wears so many hats. He's involved in so many important things. I'm not even sure what else I should be calling him. We'll find out. So, and now he's up to something else. He's adding something else to the plate. He is running for Oklahoma County Court Clerk. Yes, he is. But before we dive into all of that, I want to introduce him in a slightly different way. Instead of reading his bio, I'm just going to toss out Derrick a few bullet points from his past and personal experience and those things that might have contributed to him being the leader that he is today. And let's just see if he can just rapid fire answer some of these for me. Folks, ladies and gentlemen, welcome my friend, Pastor Derrick Scobey, to Conversations with Cubit.
Hey, hey.
You made it. So you didn't get an introduction from me, so that feels a little different, right?
A little different, yeah. I didn't hear the join us and clap. I didn't hear
you didn't get all
of it. Yeah.
So we're here in North Edmond, and I know you got here a little early because you've probably been out campaigning and doing a lot of kind of stuff. And if campaigning hasn't changed in the last 2 or 3 years, You were probably hungry when you walked in here.
I was.
Did you take in anything?
Well, actually, I had this wonderful smoothie, strawberries, bananas, pineapples. It was incredible. But because I was very, very hungry, my friend Herb, he bought me a little half of a turkey club sandwich. That sandwich, Wayland, was incredible. I'm telling you.
My grandson, who helps with this production, he usually gets to eat after, and I know something's wrong because he's sleepy already, so he had to eat before I got here. So he says it's all good. He gave the thumbs up. So be sure to check this place out. I'm going to throw you a few things, just bullet points, and I just kind of want you to kind of spitball and maybe go with it or whatever comes to mind. That okay?
That's fine.
You trust in me? Okay. All right. Here we go. I've heard you talk about this sometime, but there's so many things you could talk about. I just want to know which one you'll grab out the air. Growing up in Northeast Oklahoma City, bullet number one.
Bullet number one, PO, not OR.
PO.
Just the OR was gone. Just PO, PO.
Yeah.
$218 welfare, $120 food stamps. Often our electric, we called it lights, not electric, lights, gas, water would get cut off periodically, as well as the water. But Cam always gets a kick out of me saying, but I had the water key so I could turn the water back on. They're not going to hold that against me that I did that like in 1979.
Did you lay on your belly to find it?
No, we had the water key.
It was long enough.
Turn it on. I mean, but you had to kind of turn it back off because you didn't want we call him the waterman. You didn't want the waterman to come and take the actual, what is the thing out of there? Yeah, the meter.
The meter.
You didn't want him to come take it. So you had to turn it on, use it in the morning, and turn it off.
Well, I'll let you know a little secret. I had to lay down flat on my bed. My arms wasn't long enough to reach, even with the key. So that tells you how young I was. Anyway.
I forgot, we did have the small one too. We had the long one later, but we did have the small one.
You gotta get down in there. I was hoping you would tell a story about designer jeans at the corner of 23rd and Kelly.
Goodness.
Because we shared that story together, but you didn't go there. All right. Here's another interesting. You have a particular connection to law enforcement. Talk about that. 1 minute.
Well, I think that's the reason that I can't go as far as some they go, and I think at times want me to go, but I can't go and I won't go because my daddy, Roscoe Conklin Scobey, is looking down from heaven to make sure that I don't go too far with situations. But no, I love police officers, and nobody can make me not love police officers, and I really think it ties back to my daddy. He was an Oklahoma City police officer from 1956 to 1981. He walked the beat down on 2nd Street. He was one of the second waves of black officers. First wave was probably around 46 or 7. Henry McMullen Sr. And those guys, and then my dad and others came. In 81, when he retired, he went to the Sheriff's Department, I believe with J.D. Sharp. At that time, he had run and won that office. But my dad, he died at December 28th, 1985. So Larkin Lamb wrote a story about him about a week and a half after he passed in the Oklahoma, and it talks about leader of city black people, Roscoe Scobey, who kind of never got his proper recognition. He was a leader. He was something else, but didn't grow up in the same house with him. He was married actually when I was conceived and born. Is that too much information? It's the truth. So
it's part of your story.
It's part of my story, and I was a hidden secret, Wayland, for really the first 18 years of my life. Now he came over like 2-3 times a week. I knew exactly who it was. That was my daddy.
Yeah.
I called him Scobey. I didn't call him Daddy.
Right.
But we had a good relationship. But I know it would have gotten so much better. But then he passed away when I was 18, and we just couldn't fully get there. But man, his widow, my stepmother, 12 years after he passed, she encouraged me. I grew up Derrick Allen Johnson because Dr. G.E. Finley said, don't put him in his daddy's name, it'll cause too many problems.
Yeah.
So in 1997, at 28 years young, my stepmother, she was an attorney, school principal here in the city, and she encouraged me to take my father's last name. So I took my
That's a
daddy's
whole
last
story
name.
in and of itself. That's a whole story in and of itself. All right, the next one is the legendary, the famous Ebenezer Baptist Church. You're the pastor there. What comes to mind when I ask you to give me a 1 minute thing on that?
I would say struggle. You know, you said famous. We're 79 years old. We were a prominent, what would be called a black church, prominent black church, certainly through the 50s, 60s, into the 70s. And then it just kind of went into this decline, certainly in the 80s, early 90s. And when I got there 7.5 years ago, June 28th, 2015, after almost 20 years in the Dallas area, the first few Sundays there were about 40, 45 people. It was about 110, 20 on the church roll. But by the grace of God, we have grown exponentially, about 500 people on the church roll. I like to say I only see about, from over a 4-week period, month to month, see about 350. I think we had about 225 in worship yesterday. But God's doing a lot of amazing things. We're certainly not, obviously, the largest church in the city or in the state, but this is what many have said, and I'm just saying what they say. And that is that it has certainly become one of the most influential churches in the state.
Yep. Powerful. Good stuff going on. I like it because of the service nature of your church.
Yes.
Service nature of your church. Let me ask you this. I don't even know how to ask it, but I'm just put it out there. Julius Jones, the night before, or the night before his planned execution, I believe it was, you were arrested. Talk about that for a second.
Well,
and I know you can go a long way. We can do a whole show on that. Right. I'm going to give you 1 minute because we got to talk about this campaign.
Well, you know, we got to go back to the 1950s and 60s when black preachers were going to jail. It was planned. It was very purposeful during the civil rights era, and that still happens, you know, even to this day. I did not go out there like Wild Bill Hickok and just go get arrested. It was strategically planned out, thought out, prayed over, and prayed through. And it was really just a last-ditch effort, Wayland, to send a message that, hey, we don't need this to happen. We don't need Julius Jones to be executed the following evening, afternoon, because for the sake of him, his life, his family, but then also for the sake of our city and our state. And people can just fill in the blanks of what more than likely would have transpired. So that night, it really was a powder keg. And this is what they say. Who are they? Different ones. Just say I took one for the team. I was the only one arrested. Really, I thank God for the Oklahoma Highway Patrol who did arrest me. They were very kind, very courteous, very polite. And I really didn't leave them with much of a choice. Yeah. But I smiled the whole time, and I was kind and polite as well. And but they didn't want to arrest me. I do have to tell you this. I know it's a minute already. They were kind of, because you 26 years, you know how it goes. They had to kind of, shout and march, but when they got up close to me, they looked down. Pastor, please get up and go back behind the barricade. And I just smiled. I said, I'm sorry, I can't. Pastor, please. And after like the third time he asked me to stand up and asked me again, and I just said, I can't. So that's when he arrested me and transported me, and they were very kind, and went to court for 13 months. Had the best attorney, I believe, in the state of Oklahoma, in the person of Joe White, his wife, Kate. And after 6 or so court appearances, and I'm going to say it because it is what it is, and people love to get upset because you may not be on the same side of a fence with them. So let me say it and be very clear. My friend, David Prater. Now, before that, not, but we've become friends. So my friend, David Prater, he, and we were not friends at the time.
Right, yeah.
He dismissed it in the best interest of justice.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, wonderful Republican friend, he said to me, he said, if folks bring that up during your campaign, he said, just smile and say, bless your heart. Did you see it was dismissed in the best interest of justice?
Yeah.
Can I tell you this? Don't get mad at me, Mayor Holt. The next morning after I was arrested at 7:30 in the morning, the first phone call that I received was from Mayor David Holt. Yeah. In essence, I forgot the exact words, but I can tell you this, he wasn't fussing at me for going to jail.
Right. Well, I can tell you, I was fussing because I don't know where I was, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was on my way trying to get home and my phone rings and they give me the news. Yeah. Scobey is being arrested as we speak, is what the phone call said. And my reaction was not, thank God. Yeah. Oh, in the best interest of justice. No, that was not my reaction. My reaction was, he didn't let that damn mouth get him in trouble.
No.
Okay. All right, World Vision. World Vision. And I bring it up because it was just on the radar this past weekend. Yeah. People are calling me, asking if I was there, because a lot of times I'd help. I said, I'm not going down. I know they're going to be from Ebenezer all the way to Martin Luther King down 23rd. I don't know what it turned out.
It was about like that.
Yeah. All right. So tell me about World Vision.
So World Vision contacted me almost 3 years ago, right when, about 33 months ago, right when COVID hit, and just said that they wanted to do some things in Oklahoma, and they remembered me serving with them back in 2018, and I didn't even know who they were. I'd heard of World Vision back in the 80s, and they told me that these 53-foot truckloads of food and all this stuff was going to come, and I'm on the phone with one of my deacons and trustees, and I'm thinking, I'll believe it when I see it, because it wasn't actually World Vision. It was an affiliate for World Vision out of Chicago. And it took about 3 weeks, and all of a sudden trucks started rolling. And so far, over these 33 months or so, we have served some 150,000 families, the most vulnerable children and families in really Oklahoma County, the parts of the state of Oklahoma. And we have distributed right at $13.8 million worth of food, home furniture, home furnishings, school supplies, PPE supplies, and it's been incredible to see what God has done through that partnership. We are the only World Vision affiliate in the state of Oklahoma, and we are one of only 22 World Vision affiliates like ourselves in the United States, and we are one of only about 2 that operate at the level that we operate at.
It's an operation, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You do it.
Sarah Roberts said, because she watched it, she said, you all have scaled to a very high height quickly. And we have, and we continue.
Yeah. And it's the work behind the scenes is what I've been privy to. It's amazing. It's a huge event. So anyway, hats off for that. We can talk all about that.
And I couldn't do it by myself. Oh. It takes so many volunteers. It takes our church family, my wife,
shout Angela, out to Pastor Bird.
Christine Bird, the work, her church, the New Life Church. I mean, it's been Pastor John Reed. I mean, it's been so many. Teresa Hill, who really week to week in different ways. Pastor Reed is not out there lifting boxes, but he's behind the scenes serving as an advocate for all that takes place.
Well, we can get him to open some boxes. I can do that. Let me, Pastor Reed, holler at me. Next time we do this, I'll get Pastor Reed to open some boxes. How about that? All right, I can't do these fast introduction bio type bullet point things if I don't ask you about your family.
Yeah. So, well, can I back up and say, I graduated high school. Let me give you a little quick timeline. Graduated high school in 1985. I went to UCO. It was Central State University at that time, and I dropped out after about 2 years and became an entrepreneur and was fairly successful. Came to faith in Christ in 1996. Moved to Dallas. And life started moving quickly. Got married, started a family, had kids. I became a general manager of a company in McKinney, Texas, where I had 60 salespeople and 40 administrative people. That I was the resident social worker, pastor, and boss, on a day-to-day basis. Went on several mission trips to Africa, to Belgium. I led a merger between 2 churches, a primarily African American church and a 5,000 member, 98% white affluent church, and just did a lot of things there. Relocated back to Oklahoma City after 20 years. Went through a divorce, and came back. Pastored the Ebenezer Church, and met my wife, my beautiful wife Angela, and we got married. We actually met about 6.5 years ago. We never knew each other. She's from Midwest City, but we got married a little over 4 years ago. We have 5 children together, and then we have grandbaby, identical girl triplets. Mm-hmm. So our hands are full. So
yeah. I was hoping that you would have talked about those triplets in your special, because I got to be a part of. Luckily, I got to be a part of a birthday party that was thrown in your honor, but it was twisted. It was twisted. You didn't want the gifts and stuff to go to you or anything. So you threw this party, or your wife threw this party, should I say?
Yeah.
Your wife threw this party for you. Tons of people came, and it was a fundraiser to benefit a hospital here. Yeah. And talk about that just for a second.
Yeah, so triplets, as most could probably imagine, they were born premature, so they have MS, so they go to Bethany Children's Hospital. It's an incredible organization out there. And so when my wife started talking about this gala, I turned 55. 5 years before, during my birthday, my brother-in-law, who was like my brother, passed pancreatic cancer. So nobody was in the mood to celebrate. So she wanted to do something since it was, 55, and she said, let's do this gala. And I'm thinking, I don't want to do that. But then she said, well, we can raise money, and then we can give it to, she asked our 13-year-old, what did she want to do? She said we should give the money to Bethany Children's Center, and then Sunbeam. So you were the MC. Do you remember how uncomfortable it was when I did the first ask for 10,000?
And I was a little busy there. I was a little busy. Well,
you could almost hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some people are thinking, nobody's getting ready to raise their hand for 10,000. So I just let it rest there in a very uncomfortable state for probably about 10 seconds. And I just sat there, and finally somebody in the back, all the way at the wall, raised their hand and said, we'll do 10,000. And then it went from there.
Yeah.
So by God's grace, we raised a little over $43,000 for Sunbeam and Bethany's Children's Center that night.
Hats off.
It was great.
All right, so that's any one of those we can unpack and just have a whole conversation about that. So we don't have a lot of time left to talk about. What I really want to know is why in the world you're a member of the jail trust. You just took that on, and all the issues of the jail that we have. Certainly would love to talk to you about that. And we just recently had another death at our jail, and now I get to point the finger at you for answers. But I ain't talking about that right now. If we have time at the end, we can go there. But really, I just want to talk about why in the world, with all this stuff going on, why are you running for Oklahoma County Court Clerk?
What did you call it?
Court. It's a mouthful for me.
Oklahoma County Clerk.
County Clerk.
Yeah, County Clerk. But so many people, they say Court Clerk.
Court Clerk, because that's municipal.
We have a Court Clerk.
We have a Court Clerk and a clerk.
Yeah, he's in that office.
Get it straight. This is why we're having the conversation.
So I had always said that I would never run for a political office because I had no desire in any way, shape, or form. And I know the old adage of never say never, but this was a for real never. I was never going to do it. Mm-hmm. Well, Representative Jason Lowe had invited me to the state capitol it was a meeting that he and other leaders were having. And it was a horrible bill that was going to go to the floor. That it was really bad. So I'm sitting there in this room, and I'm looking around at the people in the room who, quote unquote, they represent us. and I'm thinking. Now it was only about 7 or 8 representatives. But as I was sitting there watching them and listening to them, I was thinking, they do not represent my viewpoint in any way, shape, or form. Not Representative Lowe, not Colin Walkie. It was just some others from kind of little small, I'm gonna call it like I want to call it, podunk towns. Because here's the thing, I'm not a politician. I probably will never be a politician, so I'm going to kind of keep saying things how I want to say it. Podunk town, that's where they were from. And I was thinking, this is not good. So after that, they voted for it to go to be heard and all of that. And I was interviewed by several TV news stations and then the Oklahoman afterwards. So here was the quote that I gave, almost verbatim. And it was, as a child, I grew up at 1105 Northeast 21st, just about 2 blocks east of the Capitol. We would walk to the state Capitol and we would be inside and we would look at the legislators, and I mean, we were just in awe, thinking that they could do no wrong. They were the greatest people in the whole wide world. And that's how I viewed them as a child. But then to be in that room and to hear what I heard, to see what I heard, to see what I saw in that room, I told the Oklahoman and others that today, after seeing what I just saw, hearing what I just heard, I want to be like Jed Clampett and load up my family and move, not to Beverly Hills because couldn't afford to do that, but move out of, now let me tell you, this was shock value. Yeah. I said, out of this god-awful state where the leadership is atrocious. That's what I said. And here's the thing, the direction that I have seen our state go in, a great state, the state I love, the state I was born and raised in, the only state I ever knew for many, many years of my life. What I saw, I didn't like what I saw. So I went home that night, I talked to my wife and I said, I'm now ready to run for a political office. It has to be the right opportunity. So somebody may ask the question, well, that was at state capitol. This is at the Oklahoma County.
That's right, that's where I was going.
Well, let me tell you how I jumped that creek and got over there. When I spent more time in the Oklahoma County courthouse over the last 14 months than I have ever spent down there. And being down there, Wayland, it reminds me of my daddy. My father worked there when he was a deputy. And it's something about it reminds me of him. But when this office opened up, I was not going to run for it. There's a friend of ours that you know well. He was going to run for the office, and I told him, I will fully support you. I'll give towards your campaign, all of that. He reached out to me a few days later and said, I decided I'm not going to run, because we had a conversation to make sure that both of us were not going to run. And when he told me clearly I am running, I said, well, I'm not, and then I'll support you. But then he said, hey, I decided I'm not going to run. And I talked to my wife. I said, hey, let's do this. Friend of mine asked me this question. Well, Congressman J.C. Watts. He said, why? Why this office? I said, well, let me tell you, it is not a stepping stone for me in any way, shape, or form. I said, J.C., it is a good entry point for me. I said, entry point and stepping stone to me, they're not synonymous at all. I said, with the entry point, it allows me to get into a political office, get my feet wet in politics. Obviously, I'm a novice, and I've been very politically engaged.
Right, very engaged.
Let's please not get that one twisted. Yeah. But I'm a novice as it relates to obviously running for an office. So I said, this will give me an opportunity to get into a non-controversial office, if you will. Learn the ins and outs of politics, and should I be elected, I'll fill this unexpired term, and if the Lord lets me live, I would be the incumbent. I believe, as the incumbent, I believe I would win, because the reality of who I'm going to, should I get through the primary, which I believe that I will.
And the primary is next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to the general, which is general election. The date is April 4th, which will be 55 years to the date Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. But that's a story for another day. But should I move into the general, the person who I'm 99.9% sure that will be my opponent, should I win against that person, with that person having the backing that they have from governors and everyone else? Person's a kind person, but should I win, I don't think many people would probably want to run against me 4 years, or 5.5 years from now. So, but I told JC, I said at that time, 5 years later, then I will take a breath, look around and say, what might I want to look at from here? But that is not a stepping stone. That is trying to move into an office that I know I can make a difference in that office.
Well, tell me what the it's not a stepping stone, it's an entry point. Mm-hmm. But talk to me about the roles and responsibility of the county clerk. Tell me what they do.
Well, at first glance, the county clerk position, it may seem like it's an insignificant position, unimportant, but that could not be. That's the farthest thing from the truth. One of the duties for that office is to cut checks. One of the duties. So, and when I say cut checks, you're cutting checks to county employees. Now, we do know we had a snafu about a month ago where that office overpaid, the county clerk office overpaid the IRS some $600,000. So then they had I think close to $500,000 in payroll checks that were out and that were going to bounce. And they had to have an emergency meeting with the county commissioners to be able to get some money to put into that account. That's the problem, okay? But that is no leadership in the office now. So, but when I say cut checks, it also, they make that office, it makes disbursements to every vendor. So whenever you have county employees that are working, say on a road or whatever, and they need equipment, well then they put in a request for this equipment, and then when they get ready to purchase it, the county clerk's office has to cut the check for that. So you're talking about millions of dollars every year. Yeah. But here's the problem, and I don't know if a lot of people knew this, because I didn't know it until a former county clerk who had been in the office for about 20 years, I had lunch with, and they shared this with me. In the early 80s, we had over 200 county commissioners, county clerks, etc., who went to prison in the state of Oklahoma, because let me tell you what they were doing, Wayland. Let's say if John Deere tractor was going to be bought. So you would have a voucher for that tractor turned into the clerk's office by the commissioner. Now this is not what I heard. This is what I know. This was in the Oklahoman. This is what's in a 200 and some page book written about it. So the clerk would receive the voucher for the John Deere tractor from the commissioner. The commissioner would then take the check to the John Deere, and I'm not talking about literally John Deere, just a tractor dealership, would take it to that dealership, say $100,000. Here's a $100,000 check, give it to the owner of the dealership. The owner of the dealership would give the county commissioner, say, $40,000, and then give the clerk $10,000, and they would keep $50,000 for the tractor. That's what's wrong? But no tractor.
Right.
When you go look for the tractor, there was no tractor. This happened all over the state of Oklahoma. So you had all these different people that were going to jail. So one of the commissioners, you know what they said on the witness stand, in the witness box? Said, "Well, I'm a commissioner, so I thought I was supposed to get a commission." So I mean,
but listen, so I get that. So, and that's part of the things that I heard you say about transparency and integrity and this type of thing to the office, and give you a chance to talk about that. But what gives you, right? You're new to this. You admitted that this is not. Where's the knowledge, skill, and ability that you bring to this role that gives people, the voters, the confidence to put an X by your name on that ballot next week?
So again, general manager, of a company in McKinney, Texas. 60 salespeople. If you have dealt with 60 salespeople, it's like herding cats. 40 administrative people, 100 people that are answering to me on a day-to-day basis, that I'm leading, that I'm inspiring on a day-to-day basis. Now, I don't know the full background of all of the other candidates in the race, but I would venture to say that none of them have been in that type of role to lead in that manner. Now, listen. I am not the brightest bulb in the box. I'm sure there are a lot of bulbs that are brighter, but I know how to lead, and I know how to inspire people, and I know how to have the right person as a deputy chief in the clerk's office. The clerk, certainly the buck is going to stop with the clerk, but you have a deputy chief that really runs, let's say, the day-to-day operations, where that person is knowledgeable. They're knowledgeable day one. I'm not knowledgeable day one. I'm going in and I have to get a feel for everything. But what I do know how to do is I know how to inspire people. I know how to help people in their job. I know how to recognize when there's a problem.
You know how to recognize problems.
Yes.
And you're a problem solver.
Yeah, that's what I do.
That's what you do.
All right.
Yeah. Anytime you're a pastor, you look out there, a lot of people see people, but the leader sees problems that's got to be solved, right?
But Wayland,
I hate to say that.
Well,
but
that's true.
People are difficult.
But it was one other thing you asked about, kind of the why. Let me also say this. So on the Oklahoma County, the all-powerful Oklahoma County Budget Board, consisting of eight offices, 8 people. You have the 3 Oklahoma County commissioners and the county assessor and the county sheriff and the court clerk, the clerk, and so. But they all have one vote on the all-powerful Oklahoma County Budget Board that oversees where the $112 million or so, where it goes. They get to make the decisions, and that's very important. And I just believe that right now that the entire county is not being fully represented on that Oklahoma County Budget Board. And because I know somebody's just thinking that I'm just saying is not represented as far as for black people, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying black people, I'm saying Northeast Oklahoma City, I'm saying Midwest City, I'm saying Spencer. I talked to the Midwest City mayor and the vice mayor, and they kind of feel like they're just kind of out there on an island. Jones,
yeah,
Luther. Arcadia. So we're not just talking about black people and the Northeast side. It's so many other areas, and we have to have representation across the entire Oklahoma County.
Right. Let me ask you this. This was a hurdle, and I didn't think it was going to be a hurdle when I got into my little small stint in politics. The hurdle was the D and the R, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. It was my understanding when I got into the race. I knew I had to declare a party. I had to put a D or an R, but I didn't see the office that I was running for made any difference whatsoever. I wasn't making any I didn't have a vote on Democrat or Republican laws that were being presented, any of that stuff. And I didn't know anybody that was a victim of a crime or that was going to be pulled over, that was going to be needing to know my party affiliation. But that's the same thing that happens in this office, right? You have to declare. And I know for a fact that as you go around campaigning, that you have to deal with the automatic assumptions that come with the party affiliation. How are you dealing with that? Total
Automatic assumptions that are so far from reality, because I'm a person, that office is not about a D and an R, Democrat, Republican, Independent in any way, shape, or form. None whatsoever. But you do have to declare. So, but I think about this assumptions that are made. I just think about United States Congresswoman Stephanie Bice being on the House floor in D.C. and honoring me for about 4 minutes as a hometown hero because of the work that we have done, and her being there at the church doing it with us. I think about Governor Kevin Stitt being at the church and talking with 30 of his staff, talking about. We had the first large-scale vaccination pod on the northeast side. We vaccinated 1,114 people January 26th or so of 2021, and he said to all the news stations that were there during the press conference that out of all the vaccination pods around the state of Oklahoma at that time, the average demographics were 2.5% to 3% African Americans in those pods. But we needed to get the shot into every arm, people of color. And our pod, it was 85% that were there. So you're saying, what does that have to do with the price in China? Well, what it has to do with the price in China, that I've engaged with Republicans, with Democrats, with independents, ever since I have returned to Oklahoma City. I've continued to try and bring people to the sandbox to play in the sandbox. I was highly criticized because Governor Stitt and Congresswoman Bice and others coming to Ebenezer and doing a lot of different things, but I always say that's the Lord's church. Anybody can come to that church. But what I was trying to do is to bring people together. But now listen, every so often you still got to put your foot down with some situations, and there are things that now, as it relates to that office, the county clerk office and that budget board, I'm fiscally conservative. That's just all there's to it. I don't think that just Republicans can be fiscally conservative.
That's good.
I'm fiscally conservative.
Well, let's talk about the office now. Let's talk about the office. What are your goals if elected? What are your goals for the office?
Well, it's first to bring stability to the office. I mean, I think I don't want to say that it's in chaos because I'm not in there, but I know without a leader that creates some level of chaos. Yeah. There's someone in the office that is actually running for this office, so I can imagine that dynamic. It's a weird dynamic going on all the way around. But want to bring stability to that office, to help make people comfortable to come and bring issues to the leader, to lead by example. I've always been told that a lesson is better caught than taught. So a leader is going to lead by example, and people are going to follow your lead. They're going to either follow your lead, or they're not going to be able to be a part after a while. But to bring stability and to make it an efficient office where people can come in and the things that they need to come in and do, our Oklahoma County residents, they can do it, and it can be done in an efficient manner.
Yeah. All right. So I want you to give your last appeal, but before we go, I have to ask you your thoughts about the controversy of the jail. Right. You're going to have to deal with that. Whether you win this election or not, you're still going to be a member of the criminal.
No.
Well, no,
I have to roll off.
Well, okay.
Should I be elected?
You're still going to have to say something about it.
Oh yeah, I don't have. I've been talking.
All right. Well, say something about it now. We just had another death.
I started.
This is the first one since you've been on the authority, right? Yeah. And it was a bicycle traffic violation on a bicycle, and a warrant. And taken to jail. And what you're hearing now is they shouldn't have been messing with the man in the first place. That's what and I just came from a round table on the criminal legal system. So it was a lot of talk about this when it was there. What's your position on apparent suicide at the jail?
Well, you asked me a couple of different things. First about the arrest. That's all right. But let me tell you my position. First of all, no, he should not have been arrested. Now, I don't know the first day or so how I would have responded to that, but now that I have more information, because I don't have all the answers, but I know I don't know where to get all the answers, but I know where to get a lot of them. I go to my wife; she's way smarter than I am. But this is what I do know now, and this is from one of our former chiefs of police here in Oklahoma City. These little petty warrants like this, nobody's going to waste their gas. You're not going to have,
come get him.
You know, when you talk about arresting him, okay, and then putting him into the county, and then who is it, Garvin County or whatever, Garvin County wouldn't have wasted their gas to come and pick him up. So, no, we should have left that one alone. We should not have even arrested him. Now, once he gets into the Oklahoma County Jail, now I've seen some things on social media people have said, but I also know, because I'm on the Oklahoma County Jail Trust, that the things that really transpired did not happen in the same way that people are saying.
That's the way.
Online.
That's the way.
You know. So now I really am in a situation, because what I'm not going to do. Let me tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to sit there and talk about the ins and outs of what I do know. And I can hear somebody saying, "No, you should." No, I'm not, because I don't want the county to get sued, and then we're spending more money because I'm up here, and can I say what I want to? Well, and I'm up here bumping my gums about. I don't need to communicate all of the ins and outs of what I do know, but what I can tell you this: he shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
That's what I do know, is that he should not have been there, and I've been praying for his mother, father, his family as a whole. It's just
we'll talk more about this, obviously, after the campaign. The most important thing right now is to get people engaged, so if they know about you and the other candidates, and if they go and be engaged next week, next Tuesday. So that's your camera right there, Pastor Scobey. Candidate Scobey, tell them what to do.
Well, so let me say this.
How to get involved.
Normally 250 to 60,000 people will vote in this election. This is a special election. The highest percentage number you see in the United States of people voting in a special election is 27%. That's not the average, that's the highest. Realistically, the average is somewhere around 18, 19, let's just say maybe 20%. You're gonna have 55,000 maybe that will vote in the general election. 55, say 60,000. So this is all I do know, that we are in Oklahoma County. Now, we talk about the D and the R, the Democrat, Republican. You have to declare, so I've declared Democrat. We are in Oklahoma County. Democrats, we can win Oklahoma County. No ifs, ands, buts about it. Vicki Behena, she proved it. Joy Hoffmeister, she has proven it. We can win Oklahoma County if we come out to vote. So I'm just asking for you to come out February the 14th, next Tuesday. Here's the reality. We say this a lot, and I mean it. Vote your conscience. But vote, exercise your right to vote. What I would hate to see, Wayland, is next Tuesday we have half the number of people voting than who should vote, and definitely come April 4th in the general. If we get to the end of the night and we have 40,000 people that have voted, which it could happen. That's not good. We need to get out and vote. Now, can I appeal to my base
for
a moment? Senate District 48. Let me just tell you, if nobody else believes in us and believes that I can win this, I believe that you all do. And this is one time. Listen, call it like it is. Listen, I'm a man for all people. I've continued to do that, show that, prove that day in, day out with the service that I provided. Not just for the Northeast community, not just for the black community, but for Oklahoma County as a whole and parts of Oklahoma. So I've shown that. I'm a man who will represent all people, and I have represented all people. However, let me say this. We need to understand that as African American people, we cannot carry a countywide race. We can't. And we know we have our Senate District 48 and House District 97-9. We can carry all those. We can't carry countywide races. But let me tell you something. We have the amount of people in Senate District 48 to carry this countywide race. And now you're saying, that's an oxymoron. Just said we couldn't. The low voter turnout. We have 40-some-odd thousand registered voters in Senate District 48. We're only going to have 55 to 60,000 that's going to vote. So now listen, I'm still, regardless of who votes for me, who does not vote for me, all you got to do is pick the phone up when I'm elected and you tell me you need this, that, or the other. I'm going to serve you who voted for me or did not vote for me in the same manner, because that's just who I am. And I'll close with this. With the people who one of the reasons that I was so welcoming to our Republican friends for coming to serve at Ebenezer. One, it's the Lord's Church. Two, I wanted them to see the people we were serving. The demographics, about 55% white, 35% African American, and then 15-20% other. So I wanted them to be able to see that. And not only that, we have served many persons that come in with Confederate flags. And guess what we do? We smile, we love on them, and we are a blessing to them, and we encourage them. You know why? Because that's who we are. We are, I'm not going to shy away from, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christ follower. I try to live my life the way Christ lived his. Come up short every day. But because of that, he calls me to love people and to be kind to people and to be a servant of all.
I love it. I love how you close with serving those people with the Confederate flag, because just love the stupid out of them. Right?
You said it.
I ain't running for that. So that's it. That's it for Conversations with Cupid. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thanks so much to Blender's Cafe up on Covell in Edmond, Oklahoma. Come check out the good stuff here. We appreciate it so much. Remember to vote next week, Valentine's Day. And we'll be live that day too. So have a good night. Thanks.